prevalent trend among the most traditional of Catholics is the fixation on demonology. Indeed, in recent years, we have seen the rise of certain celebrity exorcist priests who recount tales of spiritual warfare, warning about how yoga is a portal to the demonic, and cautioning Harry Potter fans that they have witnessed readers of the famed series become possessed. Naturally, these exhortations coincide with financial opportunities, such as publishing books on binding prayers to keep the forces of darkness at bay. But a more insidious threat looms beneath the supernatural fear-mongering, namely the dehumanization of fundamentally human problems. A well-known priest in traditional Catholic circles, Father Chad Ripperger, is a notable proponent of this demons everywhere mentality, and in my humble opinion, despite the exceptionally consistent internal logic of his preachments, the mentality he peddles is a recipe for severe neuroses. After listening to a number of his sermons, a pattern emerges. Marital problems? Demonic. Struggling with depression? Demonic. Fantasy books or games? Demonic. Eastern spiritualities? Demonic. Various sexual feelings? Demonic. And the list goes on and on and on. Of course, this is a terribly abridged, but still rather accurate account of the general theme of Ripperger's spiritual warfare perspective. And yet, this same clergyman offers the silver lining that demons only have the time, power, and influence that God gives them.
He is Christ's instrument. Demons will openly admit that they are the slaves of Christ. And it's interesting because in the end, everybody's a slave.
Our Creator is ultimately in control, and we ought not despair. In fact, it is our Lord Jesus Christ, according to Father Ripperger, who determines the demon's dispositions, whether it's a demon of fear, a demon of lust, a demon of pride, so on and so forth.
I command the demon of, and then you name the problem that you're having. So it's fear. I command the demon of fear to stop afflicting me, go to the foot of the cross, because ultimately they're Christ's slaves, so he determines what their disposition is. Go to the foot of the cross to receive your sentence.
So in this view, according to Father Ripperger's framework, what? Our loving Father just lets demons loose to spiritually, mentally, and emotionally assail us? Battling against invisible, malevolent forces in order to cultivate virtue and learn to trust God is worth the earthly trauma and risk of eternal torment in hell? This traditional Catholic framework offers a rather horrifying and abusive conception of God. This prevalent mentality of blaming misfortune on demons is personal to me, because through the years, I saw my own father, who struggled with so much unresolved trauma, anxiety, depression, and emotional dysregulation, frequently blame the devil for so many of his struggles, great and small. To his deathbed, there was an ever-present paranoia of hellish assaults on his spirit, and it was painful to watch. I think as a Catholic, it is entirely possible to acknowledge the existence of evil and of the devil, while avoiding the compulsion to suspect the demonic in every little thing. I'm also reminded of a priest who had been stationed at my parish for a number of years, a very nice and compassionate man, who's quite pleasant to talk to after Mass. But he had become something of a Father Ripperger disciple, and was an aspiring exorcist, or at least he was developing a proficiency in binding prayers in order to launch a counterstrike against the demonic. While he was generally more tame than the most radical of traditionalists, he dropped enough comments, enough anecdotes about the demonic that stoked my dad's paranoia. My recollections of my dad, as well as coming across stories of botched exorcisms resulting in neglect, abuse, and even death, have motivated me to push back against this harmful tendency to embrace the spiritual warfare mindset. I wish to stress, however, that in the case of this priest and of Father Ripperger, I'm not assuming bad motives. I merely want to point out that much psychological and emotional distress can result from this demons everywhere mentality. Personally, I still maintain an openness to the possibility of the supernatural and the paranormal. There are numerous human experiences for which there are no conventional explanations that satisfy. However, I think it stands to reason that we ought to prioritize simple, naturalistic explanations grounded in empirical data over demonological fear-mongering that generates a type of paranoia and neurosis that leaves people vulnerable to manipulation and abuse. Attributing perspectives and cultural peculiarities to the demonic also undermines the possibility for meaningful dialogue, because after all, why would a zealous believer want to converse or compromise with the demonic? Various situations and cultural spiritual traditions are stripped of their humanity. I contend that much of human emotional, relational, and sexual dysfunction emerges from internal complexity rather than external spiritual assault. As for literature or games containing magic, sorcery, and the like, that just encapsulates humanity's fascination with the fantastical and the mythical. Other spiritualities are just that, practices, prayers, and perspectives that were shaped by different cultural contexts. Some have even proposed that gagging and expelling mucus is a sign of demonic activity. Or maybe someone just has a bad case of allergies. Of course, there's that good old superstition that the smell of sulfur indicates the presence of Barack Obama. The devil. Or maybe someone in the room just had a little too much Mexican food and is silently passing gas. As a side note, I never held this opinion about Obama, but it was a joke that fundamentalist evangelical Republicans made often enough. Is demonic activity real? Or have humans just anthropomorphized the suffering, pain, and malevolence they experience in this life? I don't know for sure, and I've never had direct experience with it. Can people be possessed? Or have we just not exhaustively explored the world of mental and neurological illness? Whatever the case, I think it is worth keeping an open mind, but the church ought to leave fear-mongering and satanic panic at the door. Let's not demonize. Let's humanize.